It's like a burnt orange.
Okay. Should we get started?
I'm ready. I'm excited because we learned a lot again today.
We did.
You did, and you're about to teach us.
Am I?
Yes.
I don't know. I am excited about these wines, though, for the virtual tasting. So we just got in a huge shipment of wine from VDN.
Yes.
So it's a partner that we work with out of France. And they work with a number of really, really small suppliers. And they're basically like, they're not a negociant, they're
like a broker.
A broker.
Yeah.
So, you know, for wine makers that have really, really small production, they sort of go to VDN and say, hey, these are the wines that are available. And then we work with VDN and we bring them in. So there's a ton of great new products. If you haven't been in Homestead shopping or out to Wolf's General Store, it's all available there. Lots of really cool rosés, fun light reds for summer. I'm pretty excited about. What's funny though about when we get new stuff in, and we taste it all within the first week, and then we're like, okay, what's next? We're bored.
Yeah, like we were working this afternoon, and I was like, pick up all the wine. I was like, oh, all this wine sucks. We literally have 125 wines.
And
wines
just
here
got them in like a month ago.
That we chose ourselves.
Yeah.
And they've been here for 2 weeks. I'm like, bah.
Yeah.
I'm over all of it.
Yeah.
Actually, the one that I wanted to drink, we sold out of because I don't know if you guys saw, we posted about it on Instagram. I know Tom and Steph had a bottle, the Gazi from Montesecondo. It's a Petnat, which is just so much fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to drink that today, but I got here and it was sold out.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
That's what happens.
It's my restaurant. I can't even drink it.
That's what happens. But going back to the wines that we're tasting tonight, so the whole idea behind our Village tasting group is about really approachable, company-friendly wines. So for those people that know a lot about wine, drink a lot of wine, and have friends over that maybe don't, but you still want to drink something really delicious, that's what we can bring you as part of the Village tasting group. So I guess like affordability and value is the focus.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure that whereas previously we focused on, or we looked for wines that were available in the province, we're going to keep it to our portfolio. So any of the wines that we bring in as part of the Village tasting group, or even and unless there's something weird that happens, we're going to focus on wines that we bring in. And that's what these wines are too. So these are sort of in line with our brand, in line with our philosophy, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Is everybody tasting both wines tonight, or are you just choosing one? It's always good to know. Tasting two?
Our group always drinks two. I love it.
Yes.
The best.
Monday night, two open bottles.
I love it.
Amazing.
I love it.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get started, and we're actually going to first talk a little bit about, so these wines are really hard. I don't know if you guys did any pre-research, which you probably didn't, because that's the whole point why you come to this tasting. But these wines are really hard to find information on, which is both pretty exciting, because it means that the focus is on making the wine and not marketing the wine, but also sometimes difficult if you don't have an opportunity as a tasting group like we are to sort of chat through them. So, oh my gosh, you guys need to see that. How do we turn the can we turn it around?
You can't.
Do we look less red now because Bryce has got literally an umbrella with some kind of spotlight going?
Can we take a picture and put it in the chat or something like that? This is hilarious.
Oh, you guys look so much better.
We look good, yeah.
I'm taking a picture of this right now.
Can I keep that so I can grow my plants inside?
Okay. Can you get us back on track?
Yes.
Come on.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. You were talking about the wine was hard to find some information on.
Yes.
Which is both a good thing and a challenging thing for us. So that being said, to Leah's point, what that kind of tells us about this wine is it's exactly where we kind of want to be. It's a quality wine. We actually know the person who not personally, but we know who makes the wine, and we'll get into that in a bit. But that's kind of where you're going to keep that affordability, right? So your wine is going to cost X dollars for the bottle and the cork and the labeling and all that kind of jazz. When you're a small producer, or if you're making wine that you want to keep at an affordable price, it's nice to have someone help market it for you, which is what VDN does, right? They can't afford to market the wine for them, or they don't want to kind of put that cost into the wine. They want to keep the wine low. And then also, I guess, a website or any kind of tasting notes at all. So it truly is kind of like, I would say like this and the Azimut are like the epitome of what the Village tasting is.
For sure.
Like,
they're really well made. They're focused on terroir. They're focused on low intervention, and they're really affordable. Like, so it's kind of the best. These are cellar stockers. So the Azimut lines and the Le Ballon. These are wines that you can have around the house all the time.
These are you buy a case.
These are,
you buy a case of those.
Yeah.
You know what? I was actually talking to a guy who used to work at BDN, and a couple years ago, and the way he described these wines, I really loved. He said, c'est très précis, right? Like, they're really precise wines. So they're a great expression also of like, hey, what's Vermentino taste like?
Yeah.
What does Cab and Saint-So taste like? It's gonna be there. Like it's a really good kind of in the box expression of what typical grape varieties should be, and yeah, they're exactly what they need to be.
Yeah. So
tell us about IGPs.
Okay. First, we as
So
most
excited.
of you know, Bryce, Josh, and I recently took our WSET level 2. We all passed with flying colors. I definitely got the highest mark, but that's not important. It really is important, but that's okay.
I think you got questions wrong about New Zealand.
we did it really just as a foundation building. So I would say, in terms of our experience and our education, if you were to like equate it to WSET, we're operating at a higher level, but it's always good to go back to the basics. And one of the things that was really great as part of a review of that class was around the designations and how there's basically 2 different types of designations that exist in all of Europe. So whether it's Italy, Spain, etc.
And wouldn't it be like there is like a PGI in North America and stuff too, right? But there's not enough sub-regions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
like it would be like Canada.
Yeah.
Would it be like BC probably like?
No, I actually think you're right. I think it would be Canada. That's what VQA is. So it's basically saying this is Canadian. It's VQA. Yeah. Whereas what it should be is there should be its own designation in BC, but even in the sub-regions of BC. Think of Usoyus, think of Summerland, think of Naramata Bench, think of
Falls,
exactly.
Summerland,
So those would all actually probably be AOC designations if we were to do the translation to France. But so basically there's sort of 2 categories. One is what's called, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but it's abbreviated PDO, which basically means those are the AOCs, the DOCs, the DOCGs, the DOs of any of the European countries that are really precise on what grapes can be grown, what soil types you can use, what vinification methods you can use. Like, it's really prescriptive in order to get that designation.
So would that be like, just to give them an example, like an easy one, like a PDO would be like, would it be like Saint-Emilion or would it be Bordeaux?
Bordeaux.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be Bordeaux. Yeah. So Bordeaux AOC or Bourgogne AOC.
Or Bourgogne or Côte d'Ivoire.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are sort of the levels of AOC, and then you can go down from there. So, but what we're focusing on for this tasting is actually a different category, which is PGI, which in France, they have, instead of just calling it a PGI, they call it an IGP. So they've just switched the the wording around.
Because France.
Because it's France, right?
No.
If you've ever seen wines out there that are labeled Vin de Paix, that's this category. So these are basically wines that they don't meet the AOC criteria because what AOC focuses on is very specific grape varieties for the regions, but it also focuses on maximum yields. So and
quality as well.
Yeah, but I think that's where the maximum yields comes into play in terms of quality. But yeah, so in order to be an AOC designated wine, you have to produce less than or to a maximum of 50 hectoliters per hectare. With IGP wines or Pays d'Oc or Vin de Paix, like there's 6 different names for it, but the wines that we're drinking tonight, you can typically have yields of a maximum of 90 hectoliters per hectare. So you're getting a little bit more density on the vines, less concentration, which is where that whole idea of quality comes into play. But in order to qualify as what's called an IGP wine, or the wines that we're drinking tonight, you can't be blended across zones. So there are still some rules. So if you're getting a Pays d'Oc, which we're drinking tonight, it will come from Languedoc-Roussillon. And there's no reason why you should know that. You know that because we're telling you that tonight. And you can Google it and find out about that. But
I just learned that.
Yeah. Well,
18 minutes ago.
So, but the thing is, like, Pays d'Oc is an IGP.
I know. That's why I'm like,
Yeah. But in order to be an IGP, so this is all over France, you can't blend across zones. So if it's from a specific region, it's from a specific region. You have to produce in limited quantities, which is that 90 hectoliters per hectare and below. You can only use certain grape varieties. So even though like of the higher, like the AOC designation in France, they're even more strict on the grape varieties, but there are still some restrictions with IGP. There's minimum alcohol strength that can be included. It has to come from a specific area, which basically reinforces that it can't be blended across different regions. And actually what I found interesting is in order to qualify as an IGP, it has to go through a tasting panel.
Yeah, I saw, yeah.
But AOCs don't have to go through a tasting panel. So, okay, so these wines aren't as heavily regulated as AOCs, but they have to go
Maybe
through
that's
a
why, because they're
tasting
like, we have like little rules. Like, let's make sure it's not absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
And
That's what the tasting panel
we'll just
is
say we'll say it's from France.
Yeah, exactly. And there are actually 3 different levels. So the first level is regional, which is what we're drinking tonight. So there are 6, and I won't go through all 6. But we're drinking from Pays d'Oc, which I said is Languedoc-Roussillon. Mm-hmm. So anytime you see Pays d'Oc or you see like that, you know that that's where it's from. But the other level is then departmental. So there are 6 regional levels, and then there are 30 departments within France.
I just want to say something.
What's a department?
Un département?
No, but like, how do you? I tried to research. Like, how do you decide what's a department or not?
I don't know.
The French just say, "Oh, this is a department."
They feel it.
Okay.
They feel it. I just learned this today, which kind of blew my mind. So, like Leah said, we were doing like kind of some IGP and PGI research for our WSET course, and I couldn't wrap my head around what they were talking about. It's because I didn't know that France is literally separated in only 6 IGPs, which is mind-blowing to me, right? Because you've got like, it's so structured and there's so many subregions upon subregions. Like, you could spend your entire life learning about Burgundy and still not know anything. Mm-hmm. But there's only 6 IGPs, mm-hmm. which like is insane to me, mm-hmm. right? Because it's like you're grouping in Jura with Côte d'Or.
Savoie, Northern, yeah.
Like, that's insane.
I know.
So you're like, I'm speechless.
Well, so the levels of IGP are regional, departmental, which I have no idea what a department means, and then they have something that's called local. And how they identify those IGP regions is based off of a historical site or a geographic phenomenon. So it's not like it's literally what happened. Oh, there was a war at this site, therefore we're going to indicate this as this region, which completely complicates it even more. So that's why. Well, I like the regional level. What are you looking at?
Nelson's dog was.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I feel like this is the most confusing thing in French wine.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like
now
it's
I'm
more,
like, let's go learn.
confusing
like,
than
let's go learn about Northern Rhone.
I agree.
No problem. There's only 10 of them.
Yeah. Whereas this is like, it could be anything. But I think why this is so important, if we think about meaning, 30% of wine produced in France will be classified as a vin de pays or an IGP. So 30% of all the wine produced. What's bigger though, 85% of IGP wines are produced in Languedoc-Roussillon, which is the region that we're in.
Which is crazy, right? So.
But why?
I'll tell you why, and I know the answer to this question.
I know you do. That's why I asked you.
It's vin de pays. Vin de pays.
Sorry, my pronunciation is off.
Yeah, because vin de pays is something else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like
Say it again.
Vin de pays.
Pays.
And then pays is like.
Pays.
And then you have vin de pays. Yeah, vin de pays.
Oh, okay.
Like a pays.
I'll take French lessons later.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I don't know if this is true, but this is what I.
Okay.
Have read and have somewhere rattling my brain about why Languedoc-Roussillon is makes so much wine is the climate. Mm-hmm. It's a Mediterranean climate. So a Mediterranean climate is super conducive to growing crops. You've got hot summers, warm winters. It's a super warm climate. You can kind of just like chuck grape seeds and it'll grow vines. The other reason is because of what Leah was saying before about there are some restrictions, but the restrictions are minimal, right? So if we're talking, like, I always go back to Burgundy, where Burgundy you can only grow Pinot Noir. in this region, and it has to be aged in minimum of this kind of barrel for this long, and blah 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 blah. The amount of wine you can produce and the number of grapes you're allowed to use and the vessels you need to age them in and the length of time in Languedoc-Roussillon is very loose, right? So you can make a lot of different wine. You can make it quote unquote easier. You can make it more affordable because you can use cement tanks or you can use stainless steel tanks, and you can grow 30 different grape varieties and kind of blend them however you want. So you're always going to make a consistent wine. You're always going to make an affordable wine. You're going to make a fun wine. Languedoc-Roussillon as well, or Languedoc-Roussillon, is also much more known for making. They make wine. They make bulk wine. They sell juice. They sell grapes, which is kind of what we have in this occasion here too.
So they definitely have some AOC designations in Languedoc-Roussillon.
But those are recent though.
But about half of their production goes to Paydock.
Yeah. There was a show I was watching on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it, but it's about this region. So you have people that their livelihood is based upon, we make bulk wine real cheap and we sell it for real cheap, and that's how we make a living. The way things were going, like, it's very, very controlled by the government, by certain not monopolies, what they called like co-ops, right? So they were driving up the price basically of what people had to pay to bring, like the cost it was costing the farmers was going up. So they're selling their wine for $10, they were getting $5. Well, now they're selling it for $10, they're getting back $2. So people were, there's a lot of people that are pulling up their vines and planting other crops in this region because it's not sustainable to make wine anymore. But you have the flip side where you have some AOCs popping up, and the reality is you can grow quality wine in this region. You can make quality wine in this region. It doesn't have the clout of other regions, but you can actually produce good wine, and it's going to be real affordable, right? And you can like, cool, I'm going to make Syrah Cab Sauv blend. Great, I'm going to make Merlot Saint Sauv blend. Cool. Like there's not really any terroir.
Where have we talked about though that has terroir driven wines that aren't about brand or name or that prestige, but still make like incredibly like good quality wines that you don't have to, because I feel like Languedoc-Roussillon is one area that you're gonna get quality no matter what. You're just not gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
What's the other one that we talk about really frequently?
We spoke about Gilganagan for that.
Okay.
But
I'm not thinking New World.
Loire, yeah. Like the middle of Loire.
Yeah.
So like Chiverny, Chinon.
Yeah.
But this is like even half the price of that.
Right.
So what's happening is you have certain winemakers who are creating these cool, like Domaine de Majas, which we've had, is a good example of that. They make natural wine. They're making terroir-driven wine from their little area where they live, which has no designation, right? It's like, oh, this is my town. So they're making natural terroir-driven wines, and they're charging, I think if you buy that wine at Metro Liquor, it's like $28, which is insane for like a non-AOC regulated Languedoc-Roussillon. So what that's doing is it's driving the price of Languedoc wines up, which is doubly affecting these guys who want to just make bulk wine. They're like, no, like it's gotta be cheap, it's gotta be cheap, it's gotta be cheap. So I can't remember the name of this video. If anybody's seen it, please jump in or let us know in the chat.
Yeah.
But it's a documentary, and like, French people don't fuck around, right? Like it's like, oh no, we're gonna protest. So like, they're hiring ex-military people to like burn their neighbor's crop because they're making quality wine instead of bulk wine. And like the guy's like, yeah, my neighbor burned half my vines, and the guy's like, yeah, I did it. And they're like smoking and like, yeah, I did it. And like, wow, it is what it is.
That's outrageous.
And, yeah, it's wild. So it's a pretty.
That's a Josh story.
It's a real story. Maybe I dreamed it, but it was on Netflix. It was on Netflix.
Okay.
I'm sure of it. I can see the guy's face. He was crazy. Anywho, that's Languedoc-Roussillon in a nutshell. It's a civil war.
I'm hoping that you guys have tasted the wines already. If you haven't, knowing that everybody is opening both, let's talk about the white first. So maybe we'll talk about the white, and then you can talk about Benoit, and then we can jump into the red. Does that work? Okay. So there was a typo in the e-blast that I sent out regarding this wine. So this wine is actually 70% Vermentino and 30% Colombard, not Chardonnay. So we'll talk a little bit about each of these varieties, and then we can get some feedback on what you guys think about the wine. But Vermentino, how many people have had Vermentino before? By a show of hands. Few people?
Steph,
Not
you
really?
have.
Yeah. I'm like, Steph, you have. Oh, okay, good. I'll raise my hand. So Vermentino is typically an Italian grape, primarily from like northern Italy, Sardinia, Corsica. Like Corsica, I know Corsica is French, but basically it's recently been permitted in southern France as part of an IGP designation. So that's why they're using this grape variety. It's an aromatic grape variety. It does best in really, really hot climates with drought, which is what we talked about in terms of the climate, that like that Mediterranean influence, but it's really hot there. If we think about Corsica, where it primarily grows, Corsica is really hilly, but there's a ton of sun. So anywhere that there's sun and heat, Vermentino will do really well, but it's also a really light, fresh, aromatic grape variety. Whereas if we look at Colombard is a blend. Okay, I didn't research this. I thought you might have picked up on this, but you probably didn't. So Colombard is a grape variety that's a cross between Chenin Blanc and Gouais
Yeah.
Blanc. I don't know what that is.
No, but
I
just know how to say it.
Okay, that's fine, but I've never heard of that grape variety before, but it's basically like a hybrid. It's a cross grape. Colombard was traditionally used only for cognac production because it was really susceptible to rot, and winemakers felt like it didn't provide any flavor. However, in like the 90s, it was adopted in California really broadly, and I think they even called it like Colombard Blanc or something like that.
They changed the names.
For sure. Yeah. And because of the hot, arid climate, so because this grape is really susceptible to rot, it grows best in hot climates, which again reinforces why it would be part of this blend.
Like the hot, dry climates.
Hot, dry climates. Yeah.
Is that what arid means? Yeah.
Yeah. What did I say?
No, you said, I just didn't know. I wasn't sure if arid. Arid's like desert-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like hot, dry. Yeah. Okay, good. So that's sort of the two varieties that we're working with here. And again, 70% Vermentino, 30% Colombard. What you'll notice about if you've tasted the wine already, the Vermentino is going to bring like the freshness, the citrus, the acidity, and the Colombard will bring the body to it. So what I love about this wine is a lot of times when you drink like really light, fresh, cheap French wine or even Italian wine, it's super watery. It lacks a little bit of structure, it lacks a little bit of body. This has both, which I think is pretty cool.
I want to tell you what though. So this is a new vintage, and we get this wine all the time because it's so affordable and it's such a great bang for your buck. We got the 2018 in last year, and I know for a fact that was it was a blend of Vermentino and Sauvignon Blanc.
Really?
Yeah, and it was about 80 Vermentino, 20 Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember that one, but like it was way more sharp.
Yeah.
Way more acidic, and it was a little bit watery. But like you don't really pay that much attention to this wine. Like if you're not going to dissect it because it is what it is. But now drinking this and just thinking like, okay, Colombard's a cross between like there's Chenin Blanc. It has more richness on the palate. I got a good memory for wine. Like compared to 2018, like this is like, ooh yeah, it's got some real guts to it.
So we talk about doing what's exciting about that for me. We talk about doing vertical tastings. Has anybody done a vertical tasting? Do you know what a vertical tasting is?
It's when you lay down.
No, it's
that's where you
so a vertical tasting is when you're tasting the same wine. You're tasting the same wine, but it's different vintages. And so most of the time when you're doing a vertical tasting, it's really high-end wines, right? Like, and we're going to do one with the Saint de Drac from Suriel, which is exciting.
Yes.
But most of the time you do it with high-end wines. Wouldn't it be fun with a wine like this that maybe changes their blend year after year after year, and it's cheap and cheerful, but you actually notice the varietal differences?
And that's a great segue into what I was going to talk about. So this wine's actually made by another winery we work with called Chateau de la Selve, by the winemaker named His name is Benoit Chazalon. So Benoit Chazalon is a very young, like he's probably, well, he's younger than us, which is like, again.
He looks like Napoleon Dynamite.
He does. It's like a baby.
Guys. Okay,
I don't know if anyone's ever had this wine before. I can get it closer.
Can you?
I think so. You guys ever remember that? I don't know if you can see it. There's a big ball of sun behind the camera that Bryce put up.
It's to make you look not so red.
So reflecting off it. Anyways, he's a young winemaker who basically graduated school and the next week took over a vineyard and started making biodynamic and natural wine in Ardèche. Ardèche is going to be kind of like southwest of southern Rhone. What IGP would that be in? Coteaux Rhodanien, probably. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, but Ardèche is its own region. Like Ardèche is
It's its own
AOC.
IGP? No, but like the IGP, what IGP would it be in?
Oh, what IGP would it be?
Yeah, I saw the name, that's why.
Yeah, it's Comté. Yeah.
Comté Rhodanien.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But they make really, really great wine, and he's a really cool young kind of entrepreneur. So I met him about, I guess, 12 years ago now. I was working at this wine bar in Montreal, and I kind of knew their wines, and my friend is essentially friends with this guy. And so they came to the restaurant to do a tasting, and they go, oh, this is Benoit. He's the winemaker at Chateau La Selle. I'm like, oh, I really like your wines, and I shake the guy's hand, and he looks at me, and he's like, no, like, this is Benoit. So I shook his translator's hand, who seemed like a normally aged winemaker, 65-year-old guy, because I thought Benoit was literally his son.
Can you pull up a picture of him?
Or like I'm like, who's this kid? Is this kid even allowed to be in the bar? Like,
Benoit?
it's like they got like a 16-year-old translator for the winemaker, but he was the winemaker. Like literally like the most baby Chazalon. Chazallon. So kind of an embarrassing first introduction to Benoit.
No, you know who he looks like? And they talked about it. Did anybody watch the Masters? And what's his last name starts with a Z. And they were joking that he looked like Happy Gilmore's caddy in the movie Happy Gilmore. That's who this guy looks like.
He does look like that, yeah. Oh,
Bryce is sharing.
Bryce is putting it up.
Yeah, I think so. What was his name? Zalatoro?
We might not be able to. We got too much.
We got too much going on? Uh-oh.
What if you turn down that light? With that?
Yeah, can you guys see him?
Did you guys see him? Yeah. So you understand, like, I mean, that's probably a recent photo. So picture that guy 12 years ago. I think he had, like, his first chest hair was grown last year. So a bit of an embarrassing story, but he's you drink his wines are very, very adult, very, very thought out. And he also, so before we mentioned VDN or Vigneron de Nature, which is kind of like that brokerage we work with, which again is kind of a cool way to, like, this would be a great example of that where, I make wine, I can't afford to do the marketing, I want to keep my costs down. Can you guys promote it for me and sell it, and we'll give you 10 cents a bottle kind of thing. So Benoit and his wife, they own the majority of Vigneron de Nature, right? So they're winemakers, and they own a wine brokerage firm.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, for other small, they're more of a bigger house, but for small wineries. And this wine we're drinking, he actually makes the wine. So what we're drinking is a true example of what Pays d'Oc or Languedoc-Roussillon is all about, right? So he bought these grapes, or he bought this juice. I'm not sure what level he bought it in, but he probably bought the grapes from the Famille Vic, who are kind of, they're actually more renowned winemakers in the region. So again, they're making bulk wine, right? They're like really great. They're grape growers. They're high quality grape growers. They're not winemakers. They grow awesome grapes. So they buy the grapes and they make the wine, and they're able to sell it under this other label as Pays d'Oc, because that's where the grapes come from. But it's actually made in Ardèche. And that's why last vintage we're talking about Sauvignon Blanc with Vermentino, and this vintage it's Vermentino with Colombard, and
that's it.
Right? So maybe 2020 is going to be Chardonnay and Vermentino, or Sauvignon
do-
Blanc.
But they're using Vermentino as the mainstay here.
But the thing is, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, but okay, so you're more familiar with this wine longer term. Do you remember what some of the
2016 was 50-50 Sauvignon Blanc and Vermentino.
Okay.
And then 2016 was Vermentino, Sauvignon Blanc, and Chardonnay.
Okay.
Right?
So, but Vermentino's sort of been the mainstay, and maybe they're having better luck. So they also, these vines are relatively young compared to some of the wines that we normally drink. So these vines are only, they're only 12 years old.
I know, that's very young.
Compared to what we're used to drinking.
70 hectoliters per, wow.
Yeah. And so if we look at some of so in order to be an AOC, you have to be 50 hectoliters per hectare or below. These vines are producing at 70 hectoliters.
Yes, and I would say the majority of the wineries that we work with are going to be half of 50,
yes,
25,
exactly.
30,
yeah. But the cool thing about this is that they still practice natural winemaking practices. So they're really focused on low intervention. They don't use pesticides or anything. So they don't have any of those certifications. They're really still focused on making sure that they're basically taking the grapes from the vine, turning it into juice.
And Benoit is kind of known for that. So he went to school in Beaune, which is kind of like the end-all be-all winemaking school of the world, in Beaune in Burgundy. And he immediately came out and was like, I want to do biodynamic and natural wine, low intervention wine. And that would have been, probably 15 years ago, I would say, when he took over when he was 7 years old. Maybe 8. We don't know how old he was.
4.
Prodigy. But that's cool that he's making a low intervention wine, again, that's this affordable. And that's kind of cool too. And I just thought of something. The wheels are always turning here. So they wanted to do a natural wine designation, right? They wanted to have a stamp. Okay, it's indigenous yeasts,
like the Demeter,
right, and all that jazz. Natural wine's expensive for a reason, because it's usually a small production. You potentially could lose a bunch of crop from rot or pesticides or pests. Excuse me. This is a crazy affordable, essentially natural wine. So maybe that could be the upswing for Langue de Roussillon. It's okay, cool. Yeah. We make natural wine here because we have a hot, arid climate, so there's no mildew. Yeah. It's very good for avoiding that and pest control.
Yeah.
Do you want to drink some cheap natural wine?
Yeah.
We got it. And then maybe they won't set each other's vines on fire.
You should call them.
I'm going to call him. Okay. I'm going to call Ben. Be like, hey, Ben, remember me? Remember when I thought you were a kid, but your wine's amazing?
Has anybody seen,
together?
you know what this made me think of? Has anybody seen any of those pictures of, is it in Chablis right now? Where they have all of they're having so much, burning. They have so much, it's frost, right? That they're trying to combat.
It's frost,
and they have all of those fires lit between all the vines. Has anybody seen any pictures of that?
It's wild.
No? We should post something, Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
We should, we should post a picture of that, because that to me really, especially for the producers that we are working with, shows the amount of effort that goes into protecting and nurturing the vines.
They're not going to go to bed for days and days and days, because if you think about low intervention, kind of a hands-off approach, or you don't even have the money to have these kind of more modern practices, you're literally there's frost coming, our vines are going to die, let's start fires between them.
And there's the vine could start on fire.
You get a piece of cardboard, and you're that was basically your solution 1,000 years ago as well. Yeah. Nothing has gotten right. Where you ever seen I forget what house it is. It was one of the first growth houses, where they were getting too much rain, really close to harvest, so there was a risk of mildew. So they just had 12 helicopters standing still over the vines so that the vines wouldn't get wet.
No.
That's the opposite. That's when you're we have a gajillion dollars. We need 12 helicopters just to float above the vines. Not to destroy them, but to literally
they're
expel the rain.
Fans.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, on to the red?
Yeah.
Before we do that, what did you guys think of the white? Come off mute, put it in the chat. I'm seeing some meh.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing some thumbs up. Good.
The chat, just so you guys know, the chat is closed. We can't, well, I can't chat anyways. It says the chat is disabled.
Bryce,
Bryce.
enable the chat, dude. Like
Oh, sorry.
this umbrella light is no good if we don't have a chat going
At
on.
least we look great.
There, it's enabled.
Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Everyone
now
talks
you
about
should be
Bryce in
able
the chat.
to.
There we go.
There
What
it
does it
is.
say?
Phew.
Good. Why you guys need to say something sooner?
Totally crushable. Woohoo.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like there's nothing overwhelmingly fancy about this wine, but go ahead, Donna. Were you gonna say something, Donna? Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say something. Was it somebody else?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Seamus really liked it. He really liked it. Like, he's poured himself another glass. I found it just a bit acidic for my, like, just that there's that little bubbliness
Yeah.
left in your mouth at
Yeah.
the end of So, anyways, I moved on to the red. I like it better.
So that's going to be all Vermentino, right? All that acidity, all that kind of like that bubbliness, like that freshness is going to be all the Vermentino. So imagine the last vintage was Vermentino and Sauvignon Blanc, so you would have really hated that one.
Yeah.
Because it's even more acidic.
Because the
like,
Colin brings this one down in
Yeah.
terms like it still has that balance in bodies. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Last one would have been way too much.
This is I don't know. I can still use this term.
What?
It's I call this like a mother-in-law wine
Okay.
because like this is like where you have a case of it.
Like the white?
The white, the red, the rosé.
Okay.
It's you can buy it at Wolf's for like $18,
Yeah.
right? Amazing. Your mother-in-law comes over and she doesn't really like wine, and you're like, but I want to drink something that I'm gonna like, but she's gonna put ice in it.
Yeah.
Nah, who cares?
You
Put
drink
ice in it.
yeah.
Okay, put ice in the red. Mix the red and the white together. Put Pepsi in it. I don't care. It's $18, but I'm still going to enjoy it.
Sidebar.
Yes.
I had a really big day at work Thursday last week, and I had no wine in my fridge, but I did have a really beautiful terrain in my cellar, and I put ice in it.
Yeah.
And Greg came home and yelled at me. He's like, "Are you putting ice in that terrain?" And I was like, "Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need."
Sometimes you gotta get wine cold, like
Immediately.
on the spot.
Yeah.
We should invent that, like the
Yeah.
opposite of the thing you have.
Yeah.
Which reminds me.
Yeah. There's gotta be something.
I don't think like
chills
ice and wine is that bad. Is it really that bad?
You know what? I will tell you. I know several people who are beyond wine knowledge. What we know, and like just like
Yeah.
people that I really respect. Not like us. Not like
Yeah.
us schmucks.
Yeah.
People I actually respect.
Oh, good.
And they like I've been with them and like at lunch and like okay, like we're talking and like ordered a bottle like Sancerre or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah,
And
not
he'll
cold
be like
enough.
talking not cold enough, and he'll like take ice cube out of his
Yeah.
water and chuck it in the glass.
Yeah.
Spin it around.
Thank you.
And then fish it out
Yeah.
because he's like, what? And I'm like, dude, like this is Sancerre, like this is like $110 bottle of wine. He's like,
Not
yeah, but it's
cold
not
enough.
cold enough. He's like, the water's not gonna like it's fine. And I'm like, well, if you're
See?
saying that, like you're
It really did not
you're
come
way
in.
cooler than I am.
Put it in the blender.
Yeah.
Hyper decanted with ice, like a smoothie.
Wine smoothie.
Okay, so let's talk about the red.
Let's.
So the red is a blend of some of my very favorite grape varieties.
Really?
Yes, 100%.
Cabernet Sauvignon?
No,
Oh, it's Merlot.
no, it's Cab Sauv, but so it's 60%.
Okay, yeah, it is Cab Sauv.
Yeah, it's
You like Cab Sauv?
no.
Okay.
No. I'm talking about my like.
Yeah, I was like,
It's
oh my god.
She likes Kim Crawford.
We just spoke last month or last
Oh, I
week
don't
about how
like
you don't
Cab Sauv.
like you're like
You're
Matt
right.
Bordeaux.
I know. So this wine is a blend of 60% Grenache, 25% Cinsault, and only 15% Cab Sauv. So some of my favorite varietals are Rhone varietals, which is the Grenache and the Cinsault. So if you think about a Côte de Rhone, if you think about Chateauneuf, anything like that, it's going to have Grenache dominated flavor profiles, and that's what this wine has. What I think is really crazy strange is typically you don't see Cabernet Sauvignon blended with Grenache Cinsault. You'll see like something like a Syrah blended in. So I think this is super interesting. It's only about 15% Cab Sauv, and I don't pick up on that as much. Like what?
I thought it was more Cab Sauv, so I just like drank it and I'm like, ooh. So,
Yeah.
isn't like the other two are like singing, but they.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
No, it's mostly Grenache.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's
It does kind of smell like a Cote d'Iron.
I know.
And you know what's got? You know what's got in the nose? It's got that raw meat, that raw beef smell. Does anybody smell raw beef? Like, you know when you open up like a package of like ground beef? It kind of smells like that.
Or like when
irony.
you think of like you have a steak and you're like seasoning the steak.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like kind of like
It's iron, it's
I hope
blood.
oh no, Amber's a vegetarian, right?
Sanguine.
Or here we are talking about like, oh, raw meat. This is us getting you back for doing a vegetarian cooking class, and you guys didn't participate, so we're even now.
We got a chat. We got some in the chat here.
Yeah.
Been too long since I've smelled a steak. That's what Amber said.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
Bryce too. Yeah, so, but what I love about this wine, so this wine is predominantly grown in like gravel clay soils. So that's where you really get some of that minerality. So you definitely get like the earthiness and the meatiness to it, but you get a ton of minerality. And this wine in particular, I think for the summer, if you're looking for like a medium bodied, super approachable, easy drinking, you can even drink this slightly chilled. So
I
it
was saying,
is
like slightly chilled.
yeah. This is a great summer red wine to me. I know there are others that are better, but if I think about like what these wines are supposed to be, they're so versatile.
And I think too, like if you're the kind of person who like when you drink red, you typically drink like, oh, I like a full bodied, you know, I like a Cali Cab, and you know we're kind of maybe pulling you a little bit away from that one Monday a month. I mean, this is Cab, but it's not even close to like how kind of full and that and tannic that would be. This is like a summer, like it's a medium bodied red for sure, but it's like a summertime more weighty wine.
You know what I think of? So I'm a white wine drinker, and so I've bought the Le Ballon white and the rosé, and I'm like, oh, these are good, cheap and cheerfuls just to have in my fridge. I haven't bought the red and tasted the red recently, and I'm like, I dig this wine.
Yeah.
This is a good, like easy drinking, approachable red wine. I love this.
This is fun, like so you've got this region that can, like, it's super conducive
Right.
to growing grapes, and they can grow whatever they want. So imagine 20,
Well, they can't grow whatever they
not
want.
whatever they want, but like there's no rules.
Yeah.
Like, well, you can grow Cab and this and this. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, you have to grow 10% Cab in this. It
Right.
can be whatever you want. So imagine you have 10 grape varieties you grow. So you grow Syrah, you grow Saint-Saul, Grenache,
Yeah.
Cab.
What was the growing season?
How is it? Like, you know what? The Syrah was awful. We're not going to sell the Syrah. And the Saint-Saul was bad. But we have Merlot and Cab that's super good. Cool. So maybe next year, the Ballon, they're going to buy Merlot and Cab and make like more of a Bordeaux style blend. Right? As opposed to this, which is much more of a Rhone style blend.
Which can make this a fun wine to drink, because if you're looking for consistency year over year over year, just based off of the
Yeah.
vintage, you're not going to get
No,
that
not
with
even
these
close.
wines. But that's what makes these
'Cause
wines
this-
kind of exciting.
Last
too.
year, this was Cab Merlot.
Yeah.
Right? That was with a touch of Saint-Saul.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think it was like 40 Cab, 40 Merlot, 20 Saint-Saul kind of thing. Like
Crazy.
it was, yeah. So
Yeah.
this, like, last year I remember it was much bolder, but it was very Merlot last year.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't like tannic or like aggressive. It was like plush, but like a mouthful.
Whereas this year, definitely the Grenache comes through on that meatiness. What do you guys think? What do you think of the red?
Smells like that ground beef. I love it.
Yeah.
Brooke said she gets a lighter vibe in the red.
Yeah.
Silky and smooth, says Amber and Nick.
That was my nickname in high school.
Silky and smooth.
Yeah.
Or lighter vibe red.
Both.
Or lighter vibe red.
I find it the same. I'm not the biggest red wine drinker, and I find this very nice to drink. Barry finds it flat, and he doesn't care for it at all. But he likes those big bowls.
But
Yeah.
he likes, like, he wants to feel it. He wants to chew that
Exactly.
wine. He wants to eat it. Where this isn't that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I find this so exactly silky, really very easy to drink. I like this one.
You know what's fun about that though, just in terms of, and we talk about, or like, what I love about wine is food and wine pairings. And there are some really traditional
I like the
like
alcohol.
food and wine pairings that exist. But my number one rule is always drink what you like to drink. So if you're a white wine drinker, don't pair a red wine with steak just because red wine and steak are supposed to go well together. But now that you know that you like this wine, Donna, if you're having steak and you're like, oh, I'm a white wine drinker, whoa, maybe I might pour some Ballon, and that'll help. So you'll still be satisfied. So it's fun to experiment in that case. But yeah.
More comments. We got Lisa. She's enjoying this red. Nelson says it's very approachable, and Coralie says she's really liking it. Smells a bit like beef stew that I made.
Yeah.
Before you cook it. Beef stew before you cook it.
Well, she said she put more red wine in it than anything else. So.
Yeah. And you know what? This would be, I mean, we don't have the luxury of picking and choosing which wines we cook with in Canada because alcohol is so expensive. But this would be a wine I would choose to make a stew with.
Sure.
Like, I like the way it smells
Yeah.
to like do a stew.
I had a really
Some braised beef, yeah.
When I worked at the Willow, this was pre you. Like I was maybe like.
Ugh, it was awful back then before me.
You're right. No, it was fantastic. And we were pairing this food and this wine together, and the sauce tasted amazing, but it didn't pair with the wine like we wanted it to. So we reduced the sauce a little bit with the wine that we were actually using to pair with. And it was incredible. Where normally, you're right, here, we're not buying wine to actually cook with. We're buying wine to drink, and then we're choosing like the cheap stuff to actually cook with.
It's unfortunate because like it's just too expensive to like, you know, when you if you ever anybody has like a European cookbook or like does a European recipe, it's like, oh, like you should use like a really heavy Côte d'Aron for this sauce. I'm like, dude, that's like $35.
I'm not gonna cook with that.
To cook with that, like there's no way.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna pick Peller Estate Box. However, I am working, and this is exclusive to the tasting groups.
Oh, good. A little preview.
I am working my best and trying my hardest. So they sell Le Ballon in 20-liter boxes, right? Or like 10-liter boxes. So you ever have a box wine, right? Box wine's got, you know, it's got a bad stigma for a reason in North America or especially Canada, because imagine like that wine, if you're paying $35 for 6 liters of wine, that's like a $7
I feel like,
bottle of wine.
and I haven't tasted all box wine in Saskatchewan, but there are 2 box wines that I would stand behind.
The Los Lobos?
Yes.
Terra de Lobos, yeah.
Terra de Lobos, and preferably like more so they're white. And the second is the Le Vie Ferme Rosé. And both of those
There's
you
a
can
box
get.
wine now?
Yes, you can get bag and box. And
Solid.
yeah, I think that if you think about it, like storage is better because you're not opening a bottle and
course.
getting it oxidized. Like
Last
there's no
last 2 weeks,
yeah.
you just go to the fridge and oop.
It's just that the wine that's made in box wine format is cheap shit.
So here's the deal. If my calculations are correct and everyone jumps on board, we could bring in the Ballon white, red, and rosé. So you guys are paying about $48 a box, right? So you're paying $39 for a box of whatever. That, I mean, I would normally cook with it, but if you buy box wine and keep it in the fridge, Leah, I would spend $48 and like imagine you just had this on tap at your house.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's like
Dangerous, but
oh, trust me, I know.
amazing. Because you can cook with it and drink it.
I know.
So keep your ears peeled for that.
What's the chat saying?
They're talking about box wine right now. Amber and Nick say, so the boxes are better, but the contents are lousy here. And I said, exactly. Lisa said, I could have that in my fridge. Coralie said, yes, box in red, please. And Steph and Tom said, Leah, does box wine really last 2 weeks?
It doesn't last 2 weeks. Not at my
Well,
house.
like, yeah, but like it would though,
It, like
if you didn't drink it all.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, like in terms of like storage. In terms of how long you can store it in
You're
your
like, well,
fridge.
like if I was away for a week, then yeah, it might last 2 weeks, but no.
Yeah, no, it can. It just doesn't at my house. Yeah.
And then Amber and Nick said, I'm all about the spigot wine in the house. If it's good wine.
Well, imagine like I would love. This is the kind of thing where I would get this, and that's when, you know, probably not a homestead, but if we ever did another restaurant, like I would do like
On tap.
liter house
Yeah.
wine. I would do this.
Or the cereal. Either one of
cereal,
those.
yeah.
Yes. 2 options. I agree. Are there any other questions that the group has in terms of anything we've talked about, whether it's the producer, the region, the grape varieties? We talked a lot about PADOC or the IGP designation. Anything like that? I saw something come up in the chat.
Steph and Tom said, FYI, at 8 o'clock we turn from flower to leaf.
Really? And we didn't do our podcast today, so we don't have that.
We got this here. So we'll test that theory.
I'm just kidding.
I didn't guess, so. I would have been right, though, so. Any other questions?
It's only a tangentially related question, guys, so maybe, I don't know. This one is much, so I liked both. Amber didn't like the white as much, but she did like both. With this one, I don't know how to say it. The wine is smoother. So what is it that's making some wines, like there's some wines where I could pour, I don't know, like half the bottle in, and it's smooth. I don't know how to describe it, but it's so smooth to drink. It's not acidic. It's still got, the alcohol content is the same, everything else, but it's like drinking soft. It's very nice. And then there's other wines where it'd be very sharp, and I like them for different reasons. What is it, though, that makes the wine more smooth? For lack of a...
Do you
know what
want to take
Like,
it?
what is it that's making it smooth?
Do you want me to take it?
I want you to take it, and I want to see where you're going to go with
Oh
it.
yeah, right. I think Josh should take it first.
Okay, go for it.
Well, I know that
Sorry, before you answer this.
Yes.
There's a right and a wrong answer here. So
Okay, well then I want you to take it.
No, you
Yes.
you take it and I'll let you know if you're right or wrong. No. No. Go.
Well, there are a lot of places in Languedoc-Roussillon that do carbonic maceration, but that's probably not the answer you're looking for.
No, but keep going. That's interesting information.
But I would imagine that this wine is not aged in any kind of wood oak vessel. It's probably done in cement. It's probably done in a temperature controlled vessel as well, so there might be a little bit of extra or residual sugar in the wine, which would make it smooth.
My answer would be like simple. It's balanced.
Are there prizes for who's right?
I don't know. Are there?
Always, Leah.
Bryce gets a prize.
That's right.
You're not wrong. You weren't wrong here because what you were describing was balanced. But
Yeah.
basically, Nick, what you're looking for is if a wine is balanced, i.e. the acidity, the tannin, the alcohol, and the sugar are all equal, that wine, no matter how high any of them are or how low any of them are, will taste the smoothest because all of the components of the wine are in balance with each other.
This is like it's a
No, this is medium. This is medium across the board. This is medium acidity. This is medium tannin, medium body, medium alcohol.
Yeah.
Like everything about it is
12 and a
medium.
half, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, 12 and a half. So anytime, and so that goes for a dry wine, a sweet wine. It actually doesn't matter if the wine has the same level of all of those basic components. It will be smoother or more consistent or whatever that looks like. So that's really, if you find that some wines are drinking smoother, it means that they're just more in balance. And what's really fun and interesting about natural wine, and we were actually talking about this earlier, is a lot of natural wines nowadays that are really focused on natural winemaking are really funky and they're incredibly off balance. Like one component will be off the charts.
Through the roof, yeah.
And that's what's actually, I appreciate wines like this, but I've been so used to wines like this, I get excited by like, why is this wine so acidic?
Yeah.
Or why is this wine so...
It's like jazz.
Yeah,
You're like,
I'm
why
like,
would they do that?
I don't get it,
Yeah.
but it makes me want to so it's kind of exciting. But at least you know what you can enjoy and appreciate with that. You know why that's the case. So yeah.
So Coralie said she read a bit about how old the region is and that both world wars ...
Oh, is she still there? I don't see her.
Show me the other one.
No problem, Nick.
This region has history of vines being planted in 150 BC. So yes, it's very old.
Did both world wars happen in this region? Did they sweep
Like, are we
through?
talking
Yeah.
about Languedoc-Roussillon?
Yeah. I would imagine so. Yeah.
Josh is the World
historian.
War expert.
That I don't know. I didn't have a chance to. I didn't read up on it enough. The historicity of
No,
it.
I read that potentially this area and specifically where this wine is made, they were providing the soldiers in both world wars like a certain amount of wine per whatever it was per week per whatever. And I just thought that was very interesting.
Like a Pervinum.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that anywhere. That's awesome.
True, not.
Keep them drunk.
Yeah, it was just one of the things that I ended up pulling up, and maybe I pulled up false information, but it
No.
seemed to me logical based on the region
Yeah.
and based on the,
And I mean, like that's
like the locality of.
Yeah.
And in the 40s and in the 20s, like so they made like the Languedoc-Roussillon wine production is on a decline. So they probably would have been making a lot more wine back then, and that was like that's what they did, right? That was like their commodity. So that would make sense that they were like, we have all this wine. Do you want some of this wine? And like, yeah.
Yeah, I just have a question about the varietals that go into these. So we've seen this one, and we've had the some of the previous years. And Josh, you mentioned that the blends the varietals that they put in from year to year change. Is it just based on availability, or is there some kind of scheme that they have that they're researching and changing from year to year?
I would imagine it's 100% based on what varietal did well that year from where they're buying it.
And that's probably one of the advantages of doing IGP wines is that you have more flexibility in grape varieties. So if you think of a region like Bordeaux or Burgundy, if they have a really bad season and whatever the weather is like that year completely like does not align with Pinot Noir, you don't have any flexibility to actually blend or choose a different mainstay or anything like that. Whereas because there's a little bit more flexibility, it really is what varietal did best this year, let's highlight that. So maybe there are only 15 varietals that you can grow in Paydock, but that's 15 options. So if you have enough of something and there's a certain variety that did best based off of the season that it was, great, let's highlight that. Whereas in some of the AOC designations, you don't have that option. You can grow 2 varieties, and if neither of them do well, you're hooped, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's why I always find Châteauneuf-du-Pape. I mean, is like it's a great wine. Don't get me wrong. Like if it's aged long enough, it's not really like what I would spend my money on if I was going to spend that much money. But I always feel like it's unfair. You can have 17 grape varieties in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So
Yeah.
how the hell do you have a bad vintage?
Right.
Like it's impossible.
Well, I mean, but there
You have to have-
are minimums.
Yeah.
Like
but
so.
even still, though,
I agree.
like yeah.
I agree. It has
not
an
fair.
unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
where Burgundy, it's like
Pinot
shit year
Noir.
for Pinot. see you next year. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. There's a question, sorry Bryce, that came in that we can't see.
Sorry.
Dude,
Who's this guy?
Super helpful, thanks. And then Amber Nick said, like Chivas.
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 What is Chivas?
What's that?
Sounds like
Sorry,
you.
Chivas is a blend
Oh,
of,
Chivas.
if I remember correctly,
I
50
spelt it.
whiskeys. So that in any given year, if the buildings burned down because the English burned the Scottish distilleries down, you couldn't taste the difference between the scotches because there were so many different ones.
That's
No
correct.
way.
Chivas
Yeah.
Regal.
Can we?
Yeah, because the English are burning good booze, but also, right, it's why Chivas tastes like
Cons-
nothing and the same all the time.
Yeah.
Consistent.
Chivas,
Yeah.
Chivas is like a real solid.
Yeah, but consistent. But
Blended Scotch.
think about Chivas then compared to Champagne. Some of the Champagne houses. They're not like they're non-vintage. Here's what the style is. Here's
Yeah.
what you can expect. You know exactly what it is.
It's no different than Macallan moving away from vintage Scotch.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're going back, aren't they?
Maybe it's just because I know Tom, but when he asked that question, do you see how like intently I was like listening? I'm like, I need to really think about this. I need to make sure I'm giving him the right answer.
Everybody else doesn't matter, right?
No, but like Tom very rarely comes on microphone. It was like
Yeah, sure.
high pressure. I got a little sweaty.
And then you let Josh answer.
Oh man. Any other questions or discussion or comments from the group? I'm seeing some waving. Is that?
They have a rosé.
Yeah. So Le Ballon has a rosé. We are doing. Are we doing it next month?
Yes. Yes.
I think we're doing it next month. No,
No, we're not.
yes,
We're doing
we.
one bottle of rosé next month.
No, I thought we did this month so that next month we can also do 2 bottles of rosé, and we're doing the Le
Okay.
Ballon and the Dessinier.
That's right.
Yes, so we get 2 bottles of rosé next month for the virtual tasting, which I'm stoked about.
Rosé.
And I wanted to do it this month, but then based off of the the 5th winter that we're having, I'm glad that we held it on for May.
Winter 5.
Yeah. Yeah. Other questions, comments, any discussion? Come off mute as you need to. Everybody's so quiet.
I don't know if this is a fair comment or not, but and I know it's not unusual in natural wines, but if you find a vintage like this one, I really like the red
Yeah.
this year. But next year, it might be a different varietals go into it, and it's going to be a completely different flavor profile. So it's I get it's just a little negative for
Yeah.
me. I know that it's not consistent, and I don't expect it to be consistent. But if you find one like this that you really love, and then it's gone, right?
Yeah. And maybe go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, that's for me, like, that is the double-edged sword of making a natural wine or making a terroir-driven wine, where it's like, it's not gonna be everyone's cup of tea every year, right? Like, so for instance, Tom, you love this one. Well, next year, what if Saint-So and Grenache just didn't do well, right? And now they're gonna do a Cab Merlot, and you drink it and you're like, ugh, like, I don't like that. For me, that's kind of exciting, right? Because it means that they're actually just using the grapes as is, right? They're not manipulating it to so when you there is a positive aspect of when you go consistency. So you're gonna go and buy that $15 bottle of wine, and I know I'm gonna like it. It's gonna taste the same 2016, 2019, 2021, it doesn't matter.
Coors Light.
It's Coors Light, right? It's it's Chivas Regal. It's perfect. This for me is more interesting because I don't get excited, but if I go next year and drink it, I'm like, oh, I do not like that. It's not that the wine is bad, it's just not my style. So maybe next year Steph loves it and you don't like it. I don't know, that excites me. It just means the wine is it's just a real alive kind of thing.
And I think I like the consistent value. So to your last point,
from a
there,
consumer standpoint, you're like, nah,
it's different. It's different. So
$18 here.
that's not good. But at the end of the day, you're still going to get good value. So it might not line up to your personal preferences in terms of what the wine is like, but it will still be a good value wine to have. So you can't be disappointed in that sense. But I agree. I like this vintage a lot. I don't think I liked this wine as much as I do for this.
I agree. This is the best
Yeah.
one. This is not the best one, but my favorite one
Yeah.
that I've ever had. It's the most fresh.
Yeah.
The other vintages have been a little bit cloying, a little bit more focused on that kind of fruit and more residual sugar. This is nice.
I like it.
I was looking online, and geez, I'm talking a lot tonight. It must be the new red wine. So anyway, I was looking online before this event started, and I found one called Le Grand Ballon. Is that the same winemaker?
No, I was looking at that as well. I believe that they're from Loire, if I'm not mistaken. I saw it on the SAQ website. It's a different winery, but it has a picture of a hot air balloon on it, I think. You're right. Yeah, no, it's not the same thing. So that wine, I didn't do any research on it, but just based on the price, it's probably from Val de Loire. So it's probably a similar situation to this, but from a different one of those 6 regions that Leo was talking about. but it's probably Sauvignon Blanc as a grape variety.
For white, Cab Franc for red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wonder like what the rules are. Here's a question. I don't know if you can answer this. So of those 6,
I don't. Yeah.
right? So like we have Languedoc-Roussillon has rules. Like, are the rules all the same for Val de Loire and Pays d'Oc and Coteau de Rhodanienne? Like in terms of how much they can produce?
In terms of production, yes, but the grape varieties would be different.
All subject to.
So alcohol percentage, or like minimum, maximum alcohol percentages, types of grapes that can be grown, but they'll be different per region, and then production volumes will be the same.
Yeah.
Yes, but it just means like if it's from Loire, the grape varieties allowable there might be different.
You think you can grow Vermentino in Loire?
No.
It's too cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm also not a winemaker. I'd love to make wine. I want to make wine.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
You guys spoke about next month. We're gonna do rosé.
We're doing rosé. Yeah, there was
Hopefully
a
the
chat
snow's
that came
gone.
in. A chat came in, Bryce.
When do we get to travel again?
Okay, so
Talk to Dr. Fauci.
So, the Mira Wine team, i.e. me and Josh and Bryce, are being very optimistic, and we are planning a trip to the Okanagan for the fall. Whether or not we are able to do that will depend on restrictions and everything. Safety and following the rules in terms of protocols that are in place are number one. But we are planning that things will be ready for the fall to open up. So we're planning a trip for the fall. And then we're also looking at planning a trip to Europe at some point in 2022. So we're
basically getting all of our ducks in a row so that if on July 1st the government's like, hey, everyone can travel, like, cool, we're ready to go on July 3rd.
Yeah.
Like, we're ready to rock.
Yeah.
So we'll let everybody know. I think we had planned to do it. What was the weekend we had chosen?
I think we talked about like mid-September after the
Like
Labor Day
after
long
the Labor Day
weekend,
long
right?
weekend,
Like
yeah.
mid-September.
Yeah, so to be kind of right before harvest for the winemakers, because we don't want to go during harvest because it's a little bit hectic for them. It'll be right before, and the weather won't be too hot. And yeah, we're gonna organize it. So Bryce and Lee had organized one last year where, we're not gonna do. I think we spoke about this last time, but like, you do 5 wineries in a day. Like that's
too
torture.
much.
It's torture. We're gonna do 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and
We'll
then
have lunch at 1, whether it's the morning or afternoon. We'll have optional events in the evening, but we basically want to curate an experience for you guys that you can participate or not. Like either way, it's all going to happen. So the different producers that we go to and the tastings that we do will be there. If you decide you don't want to do dinner with the group one night, no problem. We can. That's up to you. So.
Mm-hmm. So to answer the question, yes, as soon as possible, we will leave Regina. I might even organize a trip to Saskatoon.
Nelson just asked, when do we get to go to Homestead again? ... Brooke said,
I don't know, you're a doctor, Nelson, you tell me.
Rosé. And then Stephen Tom said, must cater to us old people that can't do 5. Oh wait, we are.
I feel like Tom and Steph are going to put everyone to bed.
I think so.
And then Lisa said, thanks for the info. Sounds like a great trip.
Yeah. No.
It'll
be fun, and we're really gonna do it up because it's kind of like our coming out party for the travel aspect
Component
of
of
Mira
Mira
Wine.
Wine, yeah.
So we want to make sure it's good so that everyone comes to Europe when we go. 'Cause if it sucks in Okanagan, then
It's not gonna
I'm
suck.
gonna suck a little bit less in Europe because we'll be in Europe. But
It's not gonna suck.
I know because you're gonna organize it.
It's gonna be awesome.
I'm in charge of entertainment. 24/7.
12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I start at 1.
Awesome. Any other questions? Good.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. We'll sign off, and we'll see you. If you guys are Ground Crew members, we'll see you coming up in a couple of weeks. And if you're just virtual members, we'll see you on the. That's your thing.
I know, but I forget.
Oh my.
Rosé.
Yeah, but what rosé are we doing?
We're doing Touraine and Aflo.
Yes. Okay, so we're doing rosé all month. So we're doing 2 rosé for the premiere in-person tasting.
Yes.
Which won't be in person unless the restrictions change. We'll do virtual, but we'll figure out a way to get you tasting jars and stuff like that. If you're Ground Crew members, that's no problem. And then we're also going to do 2 different rosés for the virtual. And the virtual is going to happen on the 17th, not the 24th, because the 24th is the holiday. So we'll be doing it on the 17th.
So we'll send it an email.
Yeah, all this info will be sent via email. Good?
Good.
Okay.
Oh, comment?
Can I jump into the next level of the wine club? Says Lisa. Yes.
Yes.
Got it.
You have to pass the test though. So,
There it is.
You gotta finish it.
Awesome.
All right. We'll see you guys
Okay,
later.
thanks,
Lisa,
everybody.
Just email us.
Thanks so
We'll
much
talk
for
to
joining,
you
guys.
soon.
Take care.
Bye.